and welcome back to Restless. My name is Father Joseph Gill, priest of the Diocese of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and you've joined myself and Paul and Matt as together we young adults seek the face of Christ in the midst of today's crazy and mixed-up world. And this world is so mixed up in part because it's not following the teachings of Christ, and particularly a group of teachings known as Catholic social teaching, which, if you heard our first episode on Catholic social teaching, we kind of talked about some different themes, like the dignity of the human person made in the image and likeness of God, and we talked about kind of the preferential option for the poor. But there are 7 themes of the Catholic social teaching, and I think Paul actually has them all on a sheet of paper right in front of him, as you can hear.
The famous Rush Limbaugh.
That's right.
Crinkling paper.
That's right.
Anyway.
So what are they? Read them off real quick.
You want to know all of them?
Yeah, I mean, there's only 7.
Okay.
Right?
Life and dignity of the human person.
Check, we got that.
Call to family, community, and participation.
Oh, that's a good one.
Rights and responsibilities.
We touched on that a little bit last time.
Option for the poor and vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
The dignity of work and the rights of workers. We talked about that. Solidarity and care for God's creation.
Ah, yeah. Solidarity, we'll be talking about some of that today. So that's actually one of the greatest themes of Catholic social teaching, solidarity, which means that we are our brother's keeper. We can't be like radical individualists and say the only person that matters is myself. So do you see individualism in your own life?
Yes.
Yeah.
How does that manifest itself? And
Like me personally?
yeah, true confessions right now.
Yeah, I think I have I constantly want to do what I want to do is how it manifests. I tell myself, come on, Matt, don't be an egotist. And sometimes I fail. But sometimes I don't.
Yeah, I mean it's it's woven into every part of the day almost is focus on the individual, which is not good, right?
Right.
And so like things like prayer and doing things outside of, yourself is really important. And it takes you out of that moment. Cause when I think about it, like, and when I'm working, most of my day is spent working, I work a lot. And I just, it almost feels like at the end of every day, it's like a very individualistic thing. Not that I don't help my coworkers and there's, good that comes out of it, but it just feels like at the end of most days, it's just like, wow, that was a good day. And I did a lot of work.
So do you not
Right.
see yourself as part of a bigger community, part of a bigger team?
At work?
Yeah, or at home.
Yeah. Well, no, I do. And I think that's where staying close to the faith and making it a priority in my life, not a secondary, has been really important. And that took a long time for me to get to that point, balancing career and that. So now it's like, if I got to come record a podcast on a Thursday night and I have a whole stack of emails I have to get through, like I just don't, I'll do it later or something. Like I make room for it now. And I think it took a long time in my career to figure that out.
I think when you're single too, you're a little bit more individualistic.
Oh yeah.
Obviously,
for
when
sure.
you get married, your life can't revolve around you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's been a space for self-denial for me. And this has been something that I have recently been trying to work into my own life in several capacities. But my relationship with my fiance is obviously an endless opportunity for that kind of self-denial to say, you know what, why don't you pick the movie? You know what I mean? Which is like, it's so dumb how hard that can be, to say like, no, we won't watch, another Marvel movie because you don't want to. But also, for me, because, all jokes aside from saying that I'm a total egotist, because I try not to be.
And total nerd with the Marvel movies.
Yeah. I would say that. And what's weird is that like my natural disposition is not toward myself. Even though I just said that, but I guess my point was that I don't get joy out of it. Right? Like last time I mentioned going to the Father Solana's kitchen in Harlem, like that's joy for me. I'll throw a big party at my house and invite 60 people and do all the work for it. And that for me is because it's like, it's not for me, it's for the people. And for me, that's like joyous, even though I'm working and stressed and sweaty and all that kind of stuff. Usually when I throw a party, I do like 30,000 steps. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy and it's okay. But that's my natural disposition. But then I find myself the day to day is just, I don't know. I just feel, I don't know. It's very individualistic.
There's a It's a book called, I don't know if it's called The 5 Love Languages.
It is, yeah.
Okay, yeah, but one of them is acts of service.
Yeah, that's the only love language I have. I reckon.
The only one?
I don't think I have any others.
Right. No second.
I apologize for that, but it's just the way it is.
You're going to have to learn
I
it
just like
for whoever your wife
huge
is.
parties.
Yeah. It's not a bad one, though.
It's
It's great.
But it's funny. It's for me when I think of individualism, I think of pedestrians in Stanford, because pedestrians cross wherever the heck.
Oh
they
yeah,
feel
we
like
do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we do that.
Yeah, they're just like, I don't care that there's 30 cars backing up on Washington Boulevard. I'm just going to cross right here, right now, because I want to.
Right.
And
Well, no, I think crossing illegally is an art, and you can do it without backing up traffic.
if you can do that without backing traffic,
It's an art.
Yeah,
you're defending something illegal. But okay,
Right.
no, it is,
Yeah.
but.
No, I don't appreciate that. Actually, never mind. I could go into pedestrians and bikers all day long.
I am a biker, but yeah, and I think that's something we've very much lost in our culture, is that we are part of a bigger community.
Yeah, and I think it starts with really small things too. And when we talk about solidarity, it's for me, when you go to the grocery store, and I always like to, for whatever reason, I like to strike up conversations with the cashiers.
Really?
I don't know. It's just,
I like to do that too.
It's
I think
just
it's because we're Italian.
I do.
well, because I don't know, because they always have something interesting to say, and it's a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
And they're busy. They stand on their feet for 8-hour shifts and
Yeah,
like move things across the scanner for 8 hours.
it's mind numbing.
Yeah.
Have you ever done it?
I've never been a cashier.
No. I
Every once in a while, you find somebody will like perk up about it though. You know what I mean?
Oh, sometimes it makes their day.
Makes their day. Yeah.
Just a little conversation. How you doing? What's going on? Crazy world, isn't it? Yep, crazy world.
Last time.
weather, whatever, pizza, anything you want to talk about. Yeah.
Last time I did it, the guy didn't charge me for bags.
Right.
That's how grateful he was.
Yeah.
I said,
Sometimes I'll get only they only charge me for one. I use 3.
Yeah.
It's like a little steal from
Thanks, man.
Stanford. 'Cause it's actually a tax.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I try to do that when I'm pulled over by the cops, but I mean,
Yeah. No, it's a little.
hey, so
things
how are your children?
Yeah. Or like when I go running in the morning and I see the same people, like either walking or running every single time I go running, because humans are very habitual and we all have the same schedules apparently. And so like a smile and a hello, like sometimes people light up when you say that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the little things that can really make people say. So I think that's the like little ways that you can be part of the community and engage the community every day.
Yeah,
And that's where it starts.
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not like that at all, and I think I'm just more introverted by nature.
Yeah,
I don't like.
yeah.
I don't.
Oh,
like
I don't-
making-
I'm
I don't like
fair.
making small talk.
Yeah. I'm the ultimate introvert,
I'm the ultimate extrovert.
but I'm an outgoing
There should be an
introvert.
explosion between. you two.
But I'm an outgoing introvert.
I'm not.
You're an introverted introvert.
I just don't like small talk. I think that's, but I think it's
That's what we
important
do here,
because
though. We're doing small talk, aren't we?
Yeah.
right now
I don't
we're
think
talking about deep stuff.
Yeah, I think
like pizza.
there's nothing small about this.
No.
Yeah.
Because I think it does make a difference, because it shows that we're part of a bigger community, and especially when you're a young adult living in a city, it can be very anonymous.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Henry David Thoreau said something like, New York City is 1 million people at the time living together in loneliness or something like that,
Yeah.
Wow.
which is so true. The
can be.
loneliest place I've ever been is New York City, where there's 9 million people around me.
Sure.
And I moved to Stanford, went from a city of 9 million to a city of 120,000 or whatever it is, and I haven't been alone since.
Right.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, and maybe it's because I have the attitude of a New Yorker, which is like you don't talk to anyone unless you need to.
yeah.
I remember when I went to college in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, God.
And-
they talk.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love it. That's the thing. I love it. Like I remember, I think I grew into it. I remember the first time that it was my family, the 4 of us, that was my 2 parents and my twin sister. We went to visit down in Nashville, and the elevator door opened up as like the day I was going to visit Belmont. And the cleaning lady walked in and started talking to us. As soon as she left, all 4 of us looked at each other and were like, what the heck is happening? Like, I do not know how to respond. I don't know you. Why are
Yeah.
you talking to me? So.
But that's that gift of solidarity, is recognizing we're not
Right.
alone. And
Right, yeah.
And when it comes to the Catholic social teaching, that's really like that we have a duty to look out for the poor, the homeless, the forgotten,
Yeah.
the downtrodden. And practical level, that looks like your elderly neighbor who you may not get any visitors. Do you check up on them? Do you go do their dishes or whatever?
I think that there's a very skewed kind of idea of solidarity in our culture, but it's not like it's like a solidarity of victimhood almost. Like it's in like an elevated victimhood, because you see anything that could like I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that you could see anything that could be on the edge of being considered bad. And if you look at social media, like social media explodes and like comes to the aid of, you know, whoever might be the victim for whatever it is, you know, I don't know. And then what that transforms into is a canceling of whoever the quote unquote perpetrator is, you know? And there's like, this is not like a due process thing, obviously, you know what I mean? This is like, takes 10 minutes and you're huge on Twitter, but you know what I mean? Like there's this like weird solidarity, sure, if you want to call it that.
But I wonder if that solidarity has come about because people are searching for community. You know, people feel like I'm all alone, and that's a gift and a real bad thing about the internet is if maybe someone's feeling, I don't know, some feeling of depression or whatever, and they go online and they find a whole community of people that are suffering from depression, and so that can either be a support to them or can continue to drag them.
Well, yeah, especially deeper, if they're looking at supporting something that's not good for them,
right?
Which is a problem,
right?
You know, and I think. I'm just reading here, and it says solidarity is we are one human family, whether national, racial, ethnic, economic, and ideological differences. We are our brothers and sisters' keeper, wherever they might be. And I think we have gotten into the society where it's, and it might, you know, it is what it kind of like it's the way of things. It's like I'm right and I'm good, and you're wrong and you're bad. You know, once you do that, now you've broken down that thing, because it used to be in liberal society, it used to be this is my opinion, what's yours? Right. And it's okay to disagree, and you can live with somebody, you know, and the United States is actually pretty good with this. We live next to all these people we disagree with all the time.
Melting pot.
Kind of works, but it's less and less so. But at least at the end of the day, we would have, you know, one of the best days in American history was September 12th, 2001.
Yeah.
Right. That is one of the best days in American history, not And it's in spite of what happened on September 11th. It's what the terrorists wanted to do, and we're recording this like 2 days before the 20th anniversary of September 11th, and it's, you know, what the terrorists looked to do. Actually, the opposite happened. The United States was never more unified, you know, and it didn't matter what your political differences were. We were in solidarity together.
Yeah.
We've lost that. I don't know if we'll ever have that again.
But, you know, I think that what brought us together was the fact that we had a common enemy. And when you have a common enemy, you have a common viewpoint. And, you know, in the 1950s, it did seem like that, you know, from what I hear, of course I wasn't around, but there was that feeling of like commonality because we had values in common. You know, everyone was Christian. Everyone went to church. Everybody knew that you had to respect your parents and your elders and not steal and do this thing. You know, so there was this commonality that allowed there to be a unity in communities. You knew everybody. You knew your postman. You knew your dentist. You knew everybody that was in the community. I don't think we have the common values, and we've grown so large that it's very anonymous, and that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that's everything being anonymous is certainly a result of the internet.
Oh, yeah.
You've never been, 20 years ago, you couldn't yell at someone profanely, you know what I mean?
Right, in their face.
Not have to show your face.
Right, and now you can, and you can do it in like a split second.
Yeah, you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah. So I listen to a lot of the, I don't know, you people that have listened to me for a while would understand, but like the Jordan Petersons and the Ben Shapiro's out there, and they say that they're pretty strong. They have pretty thick skin, but reading the comments and the tweets over time is really like it really hurts you after a while. And like it's hard to just, you can only be so strong as to just let it, fly off your fly away, but it's just hard to take over time, and that's part of the internet. Is we don't have that solidarity. It's just everything is division. Everything is one side of an issue and other, right and wrong. It's like everything is.
Well, that's how you get clicks. You get clicks because I say I disagree with that, or I disagree with this.
Yeah, and politics is just taken up that mentality entirely.
Well, because without the common vision, let's say, of living in faith, politics ends up becoming your faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and because politics is naturally divisive, now we have people that are essentially religious
Republicans.
Or Democrats or whatever, or the wokeism religion, right? It's true.
Yeah. Everybody has an idol.
Yeah.
Well, that word religion comes from Latin religare, or like ligare, which is like a ligament. It means to bind. So religion is what binds a culture together. It's what binds people together. So if you want to have solidarity with someone, you have to have common values, common views.
Right.
So yeah,
It's true.
it's a religion. But solidarity, so really we should, I think, the challenge is to continue working on solidarity. But there's a flip side to solidarity, and that is subsidiarity. Did you ever hear about that? Because that's actually not on the USCCB website, but it's an important principle.
Enlighten us.
So subsidiarity is the idea that the people that should be making the decision are those closest to the issue. So it should be parents setting the curfew for their kids, not the federal government. It should be the city of Stamford dealing with the road issues. It shouldn't be the state of Connecticut, right? Because if you're closer, you know the issues, and that's an important thing. So solidarity is great that we should look out for our neighbor, but our neighbor in Africa, we don't have direct impact on that. We should look out for our neighbor that's closest to us, that we can make a difference, and that the federal government should respect the rights of smaller entities to determine their own course as far as possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's the American system, right? Federalist system that we have. But
well, it was in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's
States'
less and
rights
less now. Yeah. You look at the original federal budget and they had to like allocate coal for the White House. Like that was like a line item in the federal budget.
Was it really?
Yeah. That's how small the federal budget was.
When was it that they started income tax? Because it was like...
1913, the 16th Amendment to the Constitution.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, I actually passed a constitutional amendment.
I'm impressed that you knew that.
Both my parents are tax professionals. My dad's a tax attorney. I know these things well. I don't want to.
Yeah. So imagine that. We have a government that's not taxing people.
Yeah, they had a state tax.
They did, yeah, but we still do.
And stamp tax, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, we had duties, like those little stickers on your cigarette packs and playing cards and things like that. That's how we funded the government, federal government.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy.
But it makes you think like that maybe we don't need the federal government to do these things that we should be doing more locally. For example, welfare. A bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. is making a decision about a homeless man in Oklahoma. Maybe we could do that a little more efficiently. Because you don't know the unique circumstances. And when we hear about these federal mandates coming down, especially for like EPA and environmental stuff, I mean, do bureaucrats in Washington really know what's going on in a stream in Alaska? Why shouldn't it be?
They think they do.
They think they do.
Yeah.
You may have the data, but if you don't live there, if you're not impacted by it, it's a little bit different.
Really hard. Yeah, I mean, we've allowed our states over time have allowed the government to take more control, and then it does impact down to the church too, because the church, the Catholic Church is tasked with taking care of a lot of these issues too, and without that, we've seen how many Catholic hospitals are left in the United States? There's less and less every year, right? Yeah. And it's because of the funds and things have gone toward the big health systems, and that's the way it goes sometimes. But a lot of those things have really, have impacted not only the day to day. It's starting to impact the day to day life when maybe they wouldn't have 50 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, so true. So closely related to solidarity or subsidiarity then is the idea that human beings have rights. And we kind of touched on that briefly in the last episode, but what are the rights that we have from God? What rights do we have?
Life.
Well, yeah, I was gonna, if you want to throw the one out there that people disagree with the most, seemingly.
Which one?
Life.
Oh, life, yeah.
Okay. Any others?
It's the biggest one. I mean, it depends on... there's the ones that we have destined for us in our founding documents, but
But I'm not sure the Catholic Church would agree with the pursuit of happiness. Well, originally it was the pursuit of
property.
Property, yeah.
Well, yeah, it wasn't pursuit of property. It was a protection of property, which Catholic Church does support.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. They changed that. It's such a good story. So they changed it from property to effectuate the end of slavery.
To effectuate? I don't even know what that word means.
It means to help,
like actualize it.
Yeah, to make it, because then because slaves were property.
Oh, sure.
And they didn't want that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all these little things that get lost in history.
Yeah.
So they changed it from Thomas Paine's original life, liberty, and property to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Yeah.
Interesting. Because I would add other natural human rights, like, for example, the right to an education. I think that's a natural human right. I don't know. You could
Yeah,
disagree.
I
You could say
I think
crazy, but
something like freedom of speech as well.
sure.
Yeah, I think freedom of religion, freedom of speech, it's like First Amendment type rights. Education, I don't know. I think you could be a faithful person without like a formal education. I think it's the responsibility of the parents to educate, right? First, the first teachers.
Sure. So yeah, I agree with you.
I don't know. That's a weird one. I mean, Massachusetts Commonwealth was the first to have like free and mandatory education. So
Really?
yep. I know a lot.
All these random facts.
I know a lot
just
about the
pulling
founding of the
out
country.
today.
Yeah,
That's really cool. Actually, I didn't know.
yeah.
I don't know. I would think that.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you here that,
I think in the
whether it's
modern world,
necessary or not, I think that everybody has the right to it
Yeah.
to an extent, right?
And it should be parents.
It's just I guess my question is who I guess what when we say right, it's really important that we say, okay, well then whose responsibility is that right to protect?
right.
Right.
And I think right, and then I think
Correct.
and then I think that's where you start getting into politics,
Sure.
right? Because you could say that the Catholic Church has a responsibility to educate,
We do.
and it does.
Yeah.
Well, it tries.
We try to. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's like, okay, well then should that responsibility be, so who should these rights be protected by?
Well, subsidiarity would say that it should be the closest to the child, right? So the parents.
Parents
But if
come first, yeah.
parents can't do it well, then it's subsumed by the community,
Right.
or the church.
Right. And then you can keep going, and that's the problem with when we start talking about rights. But I think the fundamental right is life,
Well, absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Because it's almost like, pride is the root of all sin. Life is the root of all rights.
Other rights, yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
I like that you say you said the fundamental right is life, and I like that because if you remove life, you have nothing. You know what I mean? The only thing that is other than being is non-being.
Yeah.
Like,
Ooh.
It's deep.
well, but you know what I mean? So like anybody that wants to propose any argument for why someone should have a right to anything must believe fundamentally they have a right to life.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I'm going to throw out a controversial question.
Uh-oh.
Here
So
we go.
does that right to life then include, because obviously abortion is kind of what we all think of when we hear right to life.
Right.
But does it include a right to food, shelter, health care, and all the other things you need to live?
No, I don't necessarily think so, because of the right to life allows you to, because God has given us the gifts to go out and there's some exceptions to this rule, but I would say that I go back to who protects that right.
Right.
And I think it's as you say, it's subsidiarity, so it goes down to the community. So the community has an obligation to support those things, but right, I'm getting confused with the political side of things. So I think
I think it's like in terms of, do you have a right to food, shelter, and you said, what was the third one?
I said health care,
Healthcare.
but you could say other things.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's the same thing of like, to an extent, yeah, maybe, you know what I mean? Or at least in a sense that if you've got those things, you have the right of like protection of them,
Yeah. But if you don't have them, I mean,
but I'm not sure if it would
homeless
be
people still have a right to shelter? I think you can always lose your rights.
right. I think
By
we have.
something you
I think.
choose to do.
I think we have a right to be charitable, maybe.
Obligation.
Yeah, we have
an
an
obligation to be charitable. But I think it just gets political, and I think that's where, and then it's always, well, who guarantees those rights?
Right. It doesn't have to be the federal government.
And it always doesn't have to be the federal government or state governments or whoever government.
Right.
And so
It could be the church has the right.
and the church has the obligation, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Responsibility.
Yeah.
responsibility too. So I think that's where I draw the fine line.
Yeah. I think that's important because now people that are pro-life from abortion obviously don't think that we should now just abandon the child and just say, oh well, good luck and have a good time. No one actually says that. And a lot of times pro-choicers will caricature pro-lifers and say, well, you don't care about the baby after it's born. Well, no, of course we do.
Yeah, that's why I have giant adoption agencies and support networks
and food
that's all.
pantries and
Right.
I mean, shelter assistance. I mean, the Catholic Church is the #1 social service organization in the world.
Yeah.
So clearly we care about human rights.
Right.
Right.
But I think it's important to articulate as well because there is this, especially within conservatism, there's kind of a view that like, okay, well, you're born now, good luck, you're on your own.
Right.
Pull up your bootstraps and get a good job, and
Yeah. So political conservatives, we wouldn't say like good luck. We would just say it's not the responsibility of the state.
Right.
However you define that.
Which is fair.
Yeah. And if it is, if you do want to place it on their response, I think the state can act as a very like desperate social safety net, because there are people in society that are alone and they truly don't have anything else.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where, like, if there's somebody with disabilities, I'm just learning about this now because we're looking at a potential investment. It's like if there's people with disabilities and they truly can't take care of themselves, there are federal and state programs that will support those people and put them in really nice, like, they're not like facilities, but they're homes where they can live. And it costs a lot of money. It costs $150,000 per year per person.
Wow.
Very expensive. That's where the state can come in and say, like, okay, that's something that's reasonable that most people can get behind to support, because it's just a lot of money. And like the church probably can't afford that on a big scale.
Yeah.
But the government probably could.
Yeah.
So I think there's things like that are like deep social safety nets. A conservative would just say it's the responsibility of the community on a volunteer basis. It's the responsibility of churches and other charitable organizations to take care of it, because they're going to do it more efficiently.
Yeah. And at the same time, there's a responsibility for the individual back to the state, right? And so, like, yes, you have a right to healthcare, but you also have a responsibility to not abuse that by living a healthy life, not just sitting around smoking and getting diabetes. And
that's moral hazard. We call it moral hazard. Yeah, where it's like once you have insurance, you take more risk.
Really?
Yeah, it's an insurance term, right? But it's used. It's like if you have insurance, like you're gonna if you don't have car insurance, you're probably gonna drive less aggressively. Right. So people do that subconsciously, and so when you give everyone free healthcare, it's something that happens in society, is where you either enforce healthy living, or you have unhealthy people because they just don't care.
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you have to realize the responsibilities go both ways. Yeah. For
correct.
The community to the person, and the person to the community.
Yeah, it's the rights and the obligations.
Right.
Yeah. This is the thing we have to balance here.
Yeah. Right. Can you think of any other obligations that we have to the community then?
In what respect?
Like, I think we have an obligation to vote and to be part of the political process.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think it's a sin not to vote, but I mean.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I vote.
Or like I think we have an obligation to like keep the streets clean and not litter and.
Yeah.
Yep. Care for God's creation.
Oh yeah, that's actually one of the topics.
Yeah, it's the last one.
That's true. That's true. And it's interesting because a lot of people look at that as a particularly liberal issue.
Yeah, it's like it's politicized.
Environmentalism. So how do you find a Catholic answer to that environmentalist issue?
Just don't abuse things. Like I don't know. I see it as common sense. Like I don't know. Like Do
you have an electric car?
No, of course not. I drive a gas guzzling SUV.
Okay.
Yeah, he does actually. Yeah. Huge behemoth of a thing.
I was only because I don't even really know the science behind what would make one more efficient than the other.
Oh, electric car. There's all types of issues.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, where do you get electricity from?
Well, that's what I mean. I'm sure that this is
it?
not as simple as an electric car is better, but
yeah.
I guess in terms of like responsibility, right? That could be a huge thing, because not only is that a potential responsibility, that is an expensive responsibility.
Yeah. So I think that a lot of it, but what I do, I think what people would say is like when you talk about conservative and liberal or whatever, and I think the thing is that like God gave us dominion over the earth, right? And so it's the reciprocal responsibility. So then we have a responsibility to take care of it. And because with great power comes great responsibility.
Nice.
Okay,
anyway,
that's the second nerdy Marvel movie.
Anyway,
reference.
that's pre.
I'm sorry, that's DC Unite.
No, that's Marvel.
Is that Marvel?
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. But it's a term that predates that, like by
that's true.
hundreds of years.
No,
probably in the Bible
Uncle Ben.
somewhere.
Right. Anyways,
Uncle Ben said it.
Right. So in any case, but I think that we have to take care of the earth, but I think it's where you put the earth, Mother Nature, so to speak, as a false idol. And that's where I think a lot of conservatives would be like, nope.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like
the person always has greater dignity than the earth.
Right. And I think it always comes up in like, I used to do fossil fuel investing. I used to invest in oil companies, essentially, oil and gas companies. It would always come up like, what's better? Is it people that don't have electricity that are dying in hospitals that don't have enough power in India, or building a coal-fired power plant? What do you choose?
Yeah.
You pick. We live in a Western society that can have a variety of power options and loads of resources at the plenty that are all cheap, but a lot of places don't. So you can always take two sides of every argument.
That's a very good point.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us in this episode of Restless. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned about solidarity, subsidiarity, care for the environment, and some of these great principles of Catholic social thought. Go look up more on your own. Dive deeper into this topic. It's really fascinating, and I think it just shapes our worldview as Christians and how we are to live in today's crazy, crazy world. You've joined us on Restless, which you can find on Veritas Catholic Network, 1350 AM, and also wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in next time. God bless you.